So we're going to take this normal three-way light and make it smart so it can control other lights. Or you can control it with your voice. Hey Google, turn on the lamps.
Sure, turn on two lights.
Okay, so a quick tour of the socket we'll be using. These, highly recommend buying one of these rather than try to retrofit, just because they're cheap on Amazon. There's four of them for $8. So you see there's 3 terminals, and then we're going to add a fourth. So terminal 1 is on this side. The outer socket, which connects to this here, that's that one. Socket number 2 is right there. And the center pin, if you bend back the contact there, you'll see that there's a little hole that we're going to be soldering to. So now, looking at the wire diagram and having this here close by, we see here's the power cord. The line goes directly into the relay. The neutral goes into the relay, and then it also comes over to that center pin there. Then the outer socket, which we said is this one, this goes to the output of the relay. Now this is important because when the switch turns on, or the light turns on, this is going to be made live. The relay will put the live signal to the outer socket. So for that reason, I highly recommend buying one of these. If you have a metal one, I would highly recommend getting a plastic socket cover. These again are on eBay, fairly inexpensive. And the reason is because, if this were to short out against that, then, obviously if somebody comes along and touches it, they're going to get shocked. People have varying opinions. My opinion is, depending on the light, you may or may not have a polarized plug. And so if you don't have a polarized plug, whether that pin or this pin goes hot, really depends on how you plug it into the wall. It has, if there's a non-polarized plug, electricity will flow either way. So that's that. Just something to keep in mind. It is altering a switch, obviously. And then the last two, we have terminal 2 and terminal 1. They go to switch 2 and switch 1. So that's just that one and that one. They will wire to those relays. So the reason I like this actual socket is because for that center pin there, you've got to basically get a wire in. And so in order to do that, you have to either drill through the base, or this one is very convenient. You can run a wire back through the side, and that'll still give you enough clearance to get it into the casing. So I'll do that. Real important, if you've never soldered much, make sure you get some flux. It doesn't have to be this stuff, but it makes a world of difference. Solder sticks to it. It's great. Quick note, you can, if you decide you want to, file if you get a little round file or even a drill bit and you kind of press against it, you can make a little notch there so that the wire will feed down a little easier. Not necessary, but a nice little touch. So I am no soldering expert, but I highly recommend tinning the wire, tinning the little center pin down there. You can't really see it. And if you don't know what you're doing, Google it and practice. And you should wind up with something that looks a little bit like that. The nice thing about this is that when you fold this down and you screw the light bulb in, that is a physically held in joint, so it's not going to go anywhere. And again, just run it out, run it down. It's insulated, so it shouldn't have any problem. Okay, so connections are all made. You can see I used blue wire for the 2 switches. I also color-coded the ends here so that the red is on the terminal 1 and the gray is on terminal 2. And then the outer socket is the black wire, and then of course that center pin is the yellow. So that'll make it easy to hook up later. And while not necessary, I go ahead and wrap it in electrical tape just to minimize chances of anything being shocked. Just a quick note, guys, this doesn't use a 3-way light bulb. This is just a standard light bulb. I don't think I ever mentioned that, but it just uses a regular light bulb, and it uses the relay to dim it accordingly. And here's the whole assembly put together in the plastic base. Okay, so here it is all wired up. You can see the yellow is the neutral, and just like in the diagram over here, the neutral goes to the neutral on the relay, and then it is wired to that center pin inside, which we'd done earlier. The live wire is the black wire, and it goes here, powers the relay, and then it goes from the output up to the outer socket. So it makes the outer socket of that live, and that's why we have that plastic base. And then the two switches, if you remember, I put a red terminal on switch number 2, and those are the blue wires, and so those are wired up. And now the only thing to do is to add it to the app and make sure we set the button actions correctly, or switch actions correctly. Okay, and we are going to just demonstrate how this switch actually works. So I've got the 4 positions of the switch. Switch 1, switch 2. We're going to test for continuity and see when these activate. So right now, you can see switch 1 is off, switch 2 is off. So we write, and we click this once. And we see switch 1 is off, switch 2 is on. Click this again. You see switch 1 is on, switch 2 is on. And click it one more time. And we see switch 1 is on, switch 2 is off. And so what we're going to do is whenever switch 2 comes on, that's going to be medium. Whenever switch 3 is on, switch is on rather, that'll be the second light level. Whenever switch 2 turns off, that'll be the bright level. And whenever switch 1 turns off from on to off, that will be off, basically. So that's how the logic works, and we're going to put that into the app now. Okay, so now to program this, this assumes you've already added it to the Shelly app. It's fairly easy to do. I won't bore you with those details. But basically, you'll click on the button type, and what you want to do is say that it is detached, because you don't want the switch to control the dimmer directly. What we're going to do is we're going to put in a couple URLs to control it, and you'll see that in a second. So click save. Then go to this link over here, and from the earlier chart, you remember that one button off means that it should switch itself off. So when the first switch turns off, and so let me change this, because turn off. And so this is what you want to type in here: http://localhost/light/0 $turn And so that will basically, what that's doing is it's telling itself to, the internal web host that it has on the little relay, telling itself to turn off. And the great thing is that this will work even when there's no internet or anything. Next was when the switch 2 was turned on, so 2 button on, and this is going to be the low setting. And it's the same thing, HTTP localhost light/0 !, turn equals on, and brightness equals 20. So I'm setting it for 20%. That's the other great thing about this. You can set it to whatever brightness you want. So you can have, 2 dim levels, 1 bright level, or whatever. And similarly, when switch button number 1 turns on, that is the second highest. So we will set that to 50. Again, you can set it to whatever you want. I'm setting these so that it's a little more obvious when we see it, what's happening. And then 2 off is when it's at its highest. So we will here, and we will change that to 100. And you'll notice these aren't turned on by default, which is kind of crazy. So you have to turn these on. And that's all there is to it. And finally, just so we can see that it actually works, this is off. That's the low setting. Brighter, highest, off. And once you've done this assumes that you kind of are familiar with how smart homes work. You can add whatever rules you need, either through the Shelly app or through Smart Home or Home Assistant or whatever you feel you want to use. If you have any questions, just ask. I'm happy to help.